This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, late on a March 1st, 2022. And, the cap off evening, we have one of the personalities from Attitude Era Live on the show. I was approached by Scott the Icon Helmsrest for an interview, and then I had him on my show, and he sent Granny Hulkster my way, Chrissy Kruger, and various people. Well, tonight we have, let me see, how was I supposed to introduce this person? I got to do this correctly. North Dakota's #1 heel, from your women's dreams to your worst nightmares. Okay, that doesn't sound right. Folks, I give you Erik Mattheis. How do you do, Erik?
I'm big guy. I'm doing pretty good.
Do you think Scott the Icon would agree with that?
Yeah,
huh?
absolutely.
You sure?
What was that? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I am North Dakota's #1 heel in pro wrestling, and I think his wife likes me a little bit better than him. So I think we're pretty good on there.
Oh, a little cuckolding action, is it?
Maybe.
Well, I was talking to him before this, and he's kissing up big, because he said, I was asking him a little bit about you, and he said, besides independent wrestling, he said, you're a great football player. Why would he say you're a great football player? What do you have over him that would make him say that?
Well, let's say size. Of course, I am 6'3", 250 pounds. Mm-hmm. I have the talent to put on the jersey and helmet and cleats again. And I'm part of a championship winning team. So I'm pretty sure that's the big three parts of being a big or great football player.
Yeah, he said he's a great football player. Fargo Invaders. And I said, did Granny Hulkster beat his ass up? And he put, not yet.
Yeah, she's forward to taking me down to Arkansas to whip me, but I don't think it's going to happen. She'll probably break a hip before then.
I don't know. I put my money on her.
Yeah, you'd be the only one. You would not.
But he says, don't forget to mention his 69, his number 69. That doesn't have to do with the significant other, does it?
No,
69?
no.
I mean, you did bring that up.
Yeah, he brought that up because, I mean, maybe that could be the point, but that's been my number throughout the years, and I got it for a few reasons. So maybe that's his reason for enjoying the number. I don't know.
How did you and Scott meet?
Well, we met initially on the football field, where I joined the Fargo Invaders a couple of years back, and he's been our assistant with getting water or doing the lines or doing the chains, that kind of thing. And that's how we met up. We met on the bus one time, and we talked about wrestling, and we became good friends. And then he mentioned he had his live radio show every Monday night, and he had me on as a guest a while back, and then it kind of just kept having me on and on and on. And then he just decided, well, do you want to come down and be a co-host? And I said, absolutely. And I've been on the show ever since, every week.
Yeah, but I heard Granny is the real deal behind the show. That's just the rumor.
Yeah, he likes to say he has one of the bigger egos on the show, but the big swinging Granny Hulkster really got the show rolling, and then he became a caller, and now he's a guest. Now he's a host. I don't know how that happened, but that's beyond my control. I can't think of that. I'm just one of the hosts.
Well, where did your love for wrestling begin?
Well, I grew up in a family that watched wrestling every once in a while, and when I went to my grandparents' place when they lived in Litchfield, North Dakota, which is about a couple hours west of, or no, yeah, west of here, and back 3.5 hours from my hometown. We would go there, and then every so often I hear my uncle talking about, oh, WrestleMania this or WrestleMania that or Road Warrior this or Road Warrior that. And I finally kind of just started like getting interested when they would show me a few clips every once in a while, or they'd show me a videotape. And then it kind of just dissipated when their fanship dissipated. And then I found it on TV again back in the early 2000s. And I just kind of fell in love with it again. And I watched it every single week. And then I thought, well, you know what? This is going to be a show that, or a career possibly of mine. But the one weird thing about it was back when I grew up at like 2 a.m, they would have adult themed TV shows on the TV. And I was scrolling through the guide, and all of a sudden I see WWE Monday Night Raw, and Raw's in all capital letters. And I'm like, well, what the heck could this be? And I clicked it on, and that's when I saw it. And I'm like, okay, I could get used to this. And then I watched it every week, and I just became a big fan. And unfortunately, not many people from my hometown were fans, so I didn't get really to talk much about it. But then when I moved over to Bismarck for my college career, that's when I got involved, and that's when I got to meet more people that were interested in it. So
I'll give my backstory for wrestling. I mean, I've had a few wrestling personalities on here, but my backstory with wrestling, I never was into it until it was early 1987.
okay.
I was sitting in math class, and somebody beside me had gotten a sticker in the Hostess potato chips. And I guess at the time, Hostess potato chips had stickers inside there, and there was about 20 stickers of various wrestling personalities. And he happened to have a sticker that really landed with me. And I got a big bag of LJN wrestlers here. So,
Okay.
oh, yeah, because you can't break these.
No.
Well, it had a sticker that had this guy on it.
Okay.
You know who it is?
Oh, of course. Of course I know who that is. Jake the Snake.
Jake the Snake Roberts. Now, I'm a big snake lover, and this sticker had him on there with the snake. And so
Okay.
I asked about that because I love snakes, and he told me about Jake. He's a wrestler. He puts a snake on his opponents after the match, and I'm like, I want to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, these chip bags, these stickers, had a lot of interesting personalities on them. Like I used to watch Grand Prix wrestling, which was local here in New Brunswick, but I never saw anything like the personalities I saw on these stickers. Like they were like cartoon characters that were human.
Mm-hmm.
Besides Jake the Snake Roberts, we had Rowdy Roddy Piper. You had Hulk Hogan on a couple of stickers. You had Kamala. You had Sika. You had King Kong Bundy, Hillbilly Jim, the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov, the British Bulldogs. You had even had Outback Jack was on one, the Honky Tonk Man, Paul Mr. Wonderful Orndorff, George the Animal Steel. Like I'm looking at these and I'm like, these are actually human beings. You had Randy Savage, you had Ricky Steamboat. This was interesting for me. But anyway, but I wanted to see Jake do his thing with the snake.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to my uncle's one night, and he was watching wrestling. And I did not get to see Jake put the snake on anybody. That did not happen. He was not on the card that night. However, I did see uh, a match that made an impression on me, and it was a 6-man tag elimination. That was the main event of the night. Let's see if I can get the various participants that were in that. It was 6-man tag elimination. You had 3 good guys, 3 bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know. Do I have his manager around here? I got such a big bag of these things. Oh yeah, I found them. I don't have everybody, but I got a few. I love these. I got these at a Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm.
But first, Jimmy Hart, Jimmy Mouth of
Oh,
the Heart, South Hart, led down the adorable Adrian Adonis. And he was the first guy that was announced. The second guy they announced, I don't have him or his manager. His manager is Bobby the Brain Heenan. The wrestler is the absolutely awesome King Harley Race.
okay.
Yep. That was Adonis's partner. And then their third, I'm going to pull this guy because this is an awesome figure. Led out by the gorgeous Miss Elizabeth, the Macho Man, Randy Savage.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it was Adonis, Race, and Savage. And then their opponents. And let me see. The first opponent that was coming out was this individual,
Okay.
the Junkyard Dog. I don't have his dog collar, mind you, but the Junkyard Dog, who was set to square off with Harley Race in a loser must bow match at WrestleMania 3.
Okay.
Yep. And then his partner, to me, one of the greatest wrestlers ever to me, set to face the Macho Man, Randy Savage, at WrestleMania 3, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And then their partner, who was set to face the adorable Adrian Adonis in a hair versus hair match, and I think was in a race with Terry Funk to see who could retire the most, Roddy Piper. Yeah. Now, I've had Roddy Piper's son Colt and his daughter Ariel on the show here in tribute to him, and I'm still in touch with Ariel,
Okay.
But this was a really good, I love the elimination matches, and the match came down to Roddy Piper and Randy Savage.
Mm-hmm.
And Roddy Piper outsmarted the Macho Man and won the match. He was the sole survivor for his team. So, and I became a big Piper fan through that match because I loved his sense of humor and just how he just put Savage through the ringer in that match, especially at the end of it. But this was just about a month or so before WrestleMania 3. And to this day, I don't think any WrestleMania has matched WrestleMania 3. That to me is the greatest WrestleMania I've seen. You had that big Steamboat Savage match, which to me, I've never seen topped, especially WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my favorite WrestleMania. Did you see WrestleMania 3?
I watched a little bit of it again with my family, but then when their fanship dissipated, I didn't get much time to watch or any because I was so dang young. I never really got the opportunity to re-click into it. So,
Well, when it comes to wrestling for me, like I remember my brother and I a few Christmases ago, his wife went to visit her family at Christmas, and we sat down to watch Friday Night SmackDown. We could barely get through 20 minutes of it. So we went into the computer room, and he was playing video games, and I put some wrestling on. And I put on wrestling that we actually enjoyed, like Steamboat versus Flair. Played a couple of great matches Andre the Giant had in Japan, one with Harley Race, who, despite what Vince McMahon will tell you, was Harley Race was, I think the first to slam Andre. And he had another match with Stan Hansen in Japan that was really good as well. So through the internet, I got to see a lot of these. I got to see wrestling back when you were able to somewhat buy into it.
Yeah.
Yep.
When live.
Yeah. So I love that era in wrestling, and do you got any of these kind of figures, these LGM ones?
I actually do not, but I have a Hulk Hogan one that has the Hulkster hug still in the packaging.
Uh-huh.
My grandma's attic, and I have yet to open it. So that's the only one figure I have actually of wrestling.
I got a few of them. Like they're kind of making a little comeback. Like AEW come out with this.
Cody Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes LJN. And I grabbed it, and I've got figures that are articulate, but I don't know. I'm kind of liking this because you can't break these.
No.
Unless your pet gets hold of it, but that's a whole different story. But
yeah.
And then Random Treasures, it's done customs. Although they're kind of pricey, but I did get a custom. I got this custom.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Perfect. So he was never an LGN, but they made this, and I was like, wow. So they did a good job on Kurt Hennig here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Detail.
Yeah. But I've got a ton of these figurines here. I'll just showcase a few other ones here for you. To me, the greatest champion ever, Bruno Sammartino. He was always my favorite champion. I got a Bruno. We just lost this guy not too long ago.
Yeah.
Yep, Paul Orndorff. We had Every Woman's Fantasy.
I was gonna say that's not my figurine.
Are you a married man?
No, I'm not. I'm a single guy.
See, if you were married, this guy would humble you, put you in the camel clutch and humble you right in front of your wife.
Yeah, he would.
Yes. I love hearing his banters on the Howard Stern show. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, here's another guy I like too.
Oh, jeez.
George the Animal Steel. Yep. Oh man, I went to a Comic Con and I found a bunch of these, and I was like, I just bought as many of them as I could. Terry Funk, the king of hardcore.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Hardcore wrestling to me was always best when Terry Funk was involved. And I even got obscure guys like Outback Jack.
All right.
Yeah. Did you ever see Outback Jack?
I saw a couple of matches of his.
Oh wow, most people don't remember him. He was one of the guys on those initial stickers I was telling you about.
Okay.
Yep, those stickers to me really had a lot to do with me getting into. I'm just gonna throw these in this bag here, but I can't show them all to you because it'd be all night, and you get all too excited, and you tell Scott Helmsley about it, and he'd get all excited, and
yeah, we don't need that.
We don't want that. Yeah. But nonetheless, I've been collecting these LGN figures, and I just love them, and But
Yeah.
I'd love to see them make a comeback. They probably, what I would recommend they do is maybe make them a little smaller so that they could sell them in packs.
That would be a smart idea.
Yep. And maybe put different poses for some. There are some of them that are poorly posed. I don't
Yeah.
have the Rick Rude one, but they got Rick Rude's hands down on his tights. It's like, how's a kid supposed to play with that, you know?
Exactly.
Obviously they weren't thinking about that when they made it, but
Nah.
yep. But nonetheless, there we go. There. Put my toys away so my cat will get all excited. But yeah, I get a bunch of the collectibles. Christmas time, my brother got me figurine of Rowdy Roddy Piper, one of the articulated ones, but I kept it in his package. So but nonetheless, tell me about some of your favorite wrestlers growing up. Who inspired you?
Well, you basically named a lot of them. When I started watching from the older styles, Jake the Snake absolutely was one of my favorites because,
Yep.
I mean, he may have not been like the best in-ring performer, but as a promo, one of the absolute best promos in my opinion, just because he knew the psychological part of it.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this for Jake. I like watching his matches because number one, nobody did a DDT better.
No.
He was very smooth in the ring. I love his jab punches.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got just the way he does those jab punches when he gets his second wind going. He's got a great knee lift. I think Jake was actually a very good in-ring performer. He definitely knew how to sell well, I'll say that.
Yeah.
But one of the things that bothers me is that they throw titles now. Titles now don't mean anything because they throw them on everybody. And
Yeah.
it's like insulting because I think Jake should have had a title.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
indeed. I agree he deserved to win one, but he is also known as one of the greats that never won one. So I mean, it's either way. Like another one I would say besides Jake, I would have to say just because of his sheer intensity. Back before I knew everything that was going on with him, Ultimate Warrior was another good one, just because
Yep.
of his intensity going out to the ring and just his strong style and stuff like that. How he was
I
just
like the Warrior. Yep. Yep.
as he's perceived as this monster. Who are the others? Let's try to think. Like there's just many of those, and then growing up later on when I got back into it, one of my favorites, because he was such a darn good heel, was Edge.
I
Because he was,
love Edge. Yes.
as the rated R superstar, you absolutely hated to love him and loved to hate him, and that makes a great heel.
You
One
know
of my
who he
first
reminds me of? He reminds me a lot of Randy Savage.
Yeah.
Edge
Okay.
does. Yep. Edge reminds me a lot of Randy Savage, and he's gonna be facing AJ Styles at WrestleMania 38, and I'm like, okay, I kind of like how that should be a really good match.
Okay. Yeah, maybe AJ will try to separate Edge's shoulder like he did to him at the Royal Rumble during his return.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Little revenge plot. But yeah, when Edge was that was one of my favorite heels growing up. And another one that really grew on me as a heel was The Miz, because he got so much heat from coming on from reality TV to WWE. And then he just grew as such a great heel. And that's kind of what inspired me to be the character I am now. And for, I'd say, faces, I was a John Cena fan for a while.
I like John Cena too. I'm going to say this, for all the hate John Cena gets, watching him pick the Big Show and Edge up over his shoulder and that hold of his, that's pretty impressive. I mean, people talk about Hulk Hogan slamming Andre, which a lot of wrestlers have done. Watching John Cena pile two people, one being the Big Show, up on. That's
His
pretty
shoulder,
impressive.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Edge slipped off and gave him the AA. Like, yeah, that was incredible. Like he got so much heat for the golden shovel stuff, but like back when he was like the chain gang and he did his rapper gimmick and stuff, like that was awesome to see him do that and see him grow like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then who else would I say is one? Like those were kind of my main ones, and then I became an Undertaker fan growing up. For an all-around performer, I would say two of my favorites as just all-around technicians. Well, three of them would be Bret Hart, Chris Benoit, and Kurt Angle. Three of the best technical performers out there, I would say.
I agree. Love Bret Hart. Chris Benoit was a terrific in-ring performer. I wish he didn't go out the way he did, but and Kurt Angle, to me, one of my favorites to watch in terms of his in-ring is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, Ricky Steamboat. I could watch him pretty much, especially in Japan. Japan, they got some good wrestling, but I really like watching the Dragon. It's sad because, you know, I don't know how Vince thinks, but we were robbed of a match between Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Bret the Hitman Hart at WrestleMania 2.
Oh yeah.
We were supposed to have that, and then Vince decided to put Bret Hart in the Battle Royal, which of course he come down to him and Andre. So, but and Steamboat got saddled with a very inexperienced Hercules Hernandez, and Steamboat won the match. But I'm like, wouldn't it have been great to have a Steamboat versus Hart match at WrestleMania? That would have been something to see.
Yeah, and then one match I think we really got screwed out of was we could have had Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan for Ric Flair's belt back at WrestleMania 8, but then it ended up being was it Hogan and Psycho Sid, and then Ric Flair faced, I think it was
Randy Savage. Yeah. Well, at least Ric Flair ended up having a good match with Savage.
Yeah.
Had it been me, what I would have done with the Hogan match is I would have made it a tag team match.
Okay.
And what I would have done is it would have been Psycho Sid and Papa Shango versus Hulk Hogan and a mystery partner. And when Hulk Hogan comes to the ring, he announces the Ultimate Warrior. That is what I would have done.
Okay.
Like I said, I think I would have been a better booker because that match ended in a DQ. Well, this one here, you could have Shango take the fall and Psycho Sid could still look strong, you know? But that is how I would have ended it. I would have had Hogan have a mystery partner, you know?
Especially Psycho had to kick out of the leg drop because Papa Shango missed his cue.
Yep. But that's how I would have booked it. Because number one, you're going to sell the tickets just based on Hogan anyway.
Yeah.
So why not have that surprise where Hogan announces and the pop of the crowd when the Warrior comes down and is his partner, you know? Mm-hmm. That would have been something, you know?
I can agree 100% on that one.
Yeah. When I look at the WrestleManias, and I might go through and I might jot these down at some point, you know, but I would have booked a lot of the matches differently. You know? Yeah. Like there's a few things I would have done differently that weren't done. Like WrestleMania 1, instead of David Sammartino versus Brutus Beefcake, it would have been David Sammartino and Bruno Sammartino versus Brutus Beefcake and his manager, Luscious Johnny Valiant, because it ended up being a four-way in there at the end anyway. Bruno got one of the biggest pops of the night. So, and plus you could have had the Sammartinos win the match with Valiant taking the fall, you know? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't, if I was booking this, I wouldn't have. I would avoid if at all possible to have any count outs or DQs or draws. I would try to have finishes, and because it's WrestleMania, you don't want to just sleepwalk through it, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things I would have done differently. Like WrestleMania 1, I never understood Jimmy Snuka and Cowboy Bob Orton on the outside of the ring. Why not make it a 6-man tag?
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
Snuka was hugely over. It could have been Hogan, T, Snuka versus Piper or Orndorff and Orton.
Yeah, that could have been a good match. That would have been a put on good match.
Yep. And
Okay.
considering the fact that Snuka is 0-3 in WrestleMania, it would have been nice to have him have a win here, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I see where you're coming from.
There's a lot of stuff I thought about with WrestleMania where it's like, I would have done this differently. I might have done this differently. There's all kinds of stuff like that. There's things I would have changed. I think would have made a lot of the cards better, you know? Yeah. But I don't know. I could go all through that. We could be all night talk about changes I would have made, you know? But
yeah.
Did you ever go see the pay-per-views live?
Unfortunately not. I never got the opportunity, but when I was growing up, I was like obsessively clicking on watching. Of course, I was watching Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, and then I would always be checking on the website for results because I never could watch them, and unless I made the money, I couldn't get them myself because my parents were like, they weren't too big on wrestling. Excuse me. They weren't too big on wrestling, so they weren't going to spend $50-$60 on a pay-per-view, and they didn't trust any of that stuff back then because they're not really big fans of technology. So I had to kind of go without, but I got to watch. I watched the website, and then when the WWE Network came out, that's when I started watching all the older stuff. I got into more of the older stuff, and then I went on to the newer stuff and kind of rewatched history and kind of learned some things and studied up and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So you didn't get to go to any wrestling events at all? Like you didn't get to see it live?
Unfortunately not.
No.
My first actual ever wrestling show I got to go to live was the Monday Night Raw after the Shield broke up.
Uh-huh.
It was the day after my birthday. It was June 9th, 2014, Monday Night Raw live at the Target Center in Minneapolis. That was my first ever wrestling show I ever went to live. And then when I started going to more indie shows live because I got involved with the company that I started with, and I went to all their shows and got involved. And then I started going to more events live and indie events live and that kind of thing. So,
well, how did you get this persona of being the heel from was it North Dakota?
Yep, North Dakota's #1 heel from your woman's dreams and your worst nightmares.
So do you wrestle?
Yes, sir. I wrestle under the character name Mattheis.
Okay. Now, like, do you wrestle at the shows and whatnot, like stuff like that?
Yep, I got involved with the Elite Wrestling Initiative back in the year of 2013 when I first got into college, and I was training for a number of years while I worked camera and I set up the ring and I became ref and I built my way up. And then in 2017, I made my debut at a Valley City show for the EWI Diamond Championship.
So when you were coming up with this persona, who were your inspirations in creating your character?
Definitely the Miz for his cockiness. That was definitely the Miz. Again, I said Edge because he did what he wanted with Lita. He didn't care. He was kind of like that. And then it was just kind of like, I thought, well, you know what? I want to be like the guy that every woman wants and every man hates. And I just decided, well, I'm going to be this cocky guy that comes out to the ring and he don't care what the crowd thinks. He doesn't care what anybody thinks of him. He's going to go out there. He's going to do his job. He's going to steal your girl while doing it. And then he's going to leave. And that's as simple as that.
Ric Flair.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Wheeling, dealing, son of a gun.
Do you do the face flops like he does?
No, the one thing I don't do that necessarily. I actually, if I were to take like a face plant into the turnbuckle, I would just take a few steps back and just fall backwards like timber. So that's one of my good ways to sell a turnbuckle hit. Otherwise, I would do a face flop. It's just I need to get the right moving because since I'm a big guy, they tend to not make me do bumps kind of like that.
Have you ever met Ronnie Angel? I've had him on not too long ago.
No, I have actually never met him.
Okay, he's a wrestler. He's also been in a few horror movies, and I had him on recently. He's out of California, so
Okay.
he wrestles in the independent circuit. I am wearing my my Princess Victoria shirt tonight.
Okay, cool.
Yep. For female wrestlers, Princess Victoria and Velvet McIntyre were two of my favorites. I've had Princess Victoria on here a couple times, and Velvet I wanted to get on, but I think she'd get issues with her hearing, so that's not going to happen. But I had Princess Victoria, and she was definitely very blunt on what she thought of certain people in the business.
Yeah, and that's the one thing. Like with your show, you don't have to be as like protected of like how blunt you are versus with our show. Like we kind of had to be a little PG, or we couldn't be like too blunt about stuff. But like it's kind of nice having it on different shows where you can see different views and that kind of thing.
Why does it have to be PG?
Because we're FM radio and we can't like curse or say anything too inappropriate or kind of go off on the handle. We kind of keep it at a level pace according to Icon. If I could, I'd go off on him nonstop, but I really got to be respectful of the show. So
you could always pull a Jim Cornette on him.
You have no idea how many times I've thought about that.
Jim Cornette is one of my favorite manager figures. The same with Bobby Heenan. Do you have any favorite manager figures?
I was going to say, you pretty much nailed it. Jim Cornette, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Jimmy Hart. Trying to think if there's any other good ones that I really could think of. Who was the guy that went out with the Legion of Doom? What's his
Sonny?
name? No.
Paul Ellering.
Yeah, Paul Ellering. Yeah. I'm trying to think, or I'd say Miss Elizabeth for Randy Savage.
Yeah, love Miss Elizabeth.
And just for creativity, Luna Vachon and Goldust. Like that was just intense. That was just odd. It's like that was awesome though.
I saw Luna in a very odd match. Like once a while, you'll find a match that's just out of friggin' nowhere. And this was, I think, is one of the funniest kinds of matches I'd seen. I don't know why but you'd have to have a good sense of humor to sign onto it. But it was what they call a crybaby match. And it was between Luna Vachon and some wimp ass guy in the independent circus. And the whole idea was if Luna won, this guy gets put in a diaper. And Luna beat his ass.
Wow.
She had the diaper out there and the bottle and all that stuff and the powder and
wow. All right. But I mean, the guy could say I got my ass beat by Luna Vachon and she put me in a diaper.
Yeah. But that is one of the oddest matches. Now there was one at one of the In Your Houses between Razor Ramon and 123 Kid, and 123 Kid lost, and that one there was, of course, I'm speaking because I'm straight, but I don't know. 123 Kid sold it very, very funny, and obviously X-Pac has a great sense of humor.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know if I could lie there and have a guy do that to me, Razor Ramon or otherwise. Whereas with the one with Luna Vachon, at least, you know, she was beating up a guy that was obviously a lot smaller than her, and a guy that needed his mouth shut. But you couldn't get me to do it. That's one of those matches to me I would book between a male and a female, not for sexual reasons, and I want to clear that up.
Yeah.
But it's a perfect way to have the female give the male his comeuppance.
Exactly.
You know, I don't know where it is, but I heard that Jim Cornette talked about this as well. I think he lost one of these to Baby Doll, and I was like, oh, I want to see that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That'd be awesome to watch.
Yeah, but that was one of the strangest, and I've seen a lot of strange matches, but that one there is one of the strangest. I don't see them very often, and quite frankly, the man-on-man ones, you know, but some of the intergender matches I find interesting. Speaking of Jim Cornette, he signed one. This was not a crybaby match, but frig, it was the next funniest thing to it. It was a match I've seen countless times, a tuxedo match.
Okay.
I've seen those countless times. This was the most entertaining one I've seen. Jim Cornette was punishing Christy Hemme. He told her that she was going to have a tuxedo match. So Christy Hemme is gorgeous. She's coming out to the ring and she's dressed to the nines. And of course, every guy in the crowd wants her to get stripped down. However, they don't exactly want his opponent to win either. And who's his opponent? I don't know who this guy is, but Jim Cornette threw somebody out there. Some guy comes out, they called him the big sweaty oily man. I don't know who he was, but he looked like a mess. And he comes out there and he's about 4 or 5 times the size of poor Christy Hemme.
Figures.
Yeah, but I'm going to say this. Christy Hemme really showed her athleticism in this for maneuvering around this big guy. And you knew full well the guy was going to lose. You want Christy Hemme to win, but of course everybody wants her to be the one to get stripped down. Well, but we wanted Christy Hemme to win. Well, she won. And Jim Cornette's guy lost. But I'm going to tell you, there was a part of the match I thought she was done for. She hit a sunset flip on him.
Okay.
And as she does it, she manages to pull his pants down. And the guy sits right down on top of her. And I'm like, man, that's a lot of weight for this tiny woman. And I don't know whether the ref tried to count or something. She kicked out of it, but that was a lot of guy. And nobody wanted to see this guy stripped down to his underwear. But boy, she won. She won the fight. She won it. And this guy, I like seeing matches like that are unusual and I can have a good laugh at. And plus, then I love seeing the serious stuff like your your Steamboat Savage or stuff like that, you know. And I like steel cage matches. Not a big fan of Hell in a Cell. I like the steel cage matches because you know when they bounce, there's something rhythmic about them bouncing off that cage and flying off into the ring, you know, and you
Yeah.
can't get that with a Hell in a Cell, you know.
No.
Yeah, but that's where I come from wrestling. Anything really strange like that, I love to watch, you know. And
Hmm.
plus I like the good technical stuff too, so
Exactly.
yeah.
Big mix.
What's your favorite kind of match?
All righty. Well, I was more kind of more like in my favorites right now, just because I enjoy doing them. I was a very big like hardcore style match kind of guy. So anything like no holds barred or just hardcore or whatever, first blood, that kind of thing, just because you got to use the weapons and it could amplify the match a little bit more. If we're talking anything not hardcore, I would say, let's see, steel cage matches, like you said, were good to finish off a rivalry.
I
Um,
love steel cage matches, and when it comes to hardcore, it depends how it's done. I think I can understand why Jim Cornette is critical of them,
yeah,
but at the same, like how many times now do we see people go outside the ring, tear up an announce table, and then perform a new move on top of the table and they collapse? It's been done to death, you know.
yeah,
What my favorite hardcore performer was by far Terry Funk,
uh-huh,
because Terry Funk made you believe what he was doing, and it was,
exactly.
you never half-assed it, you know.
No,
Yeah, I seen him do a match in Japan. Speaking of odd matches, he faced an Japanese wrestler, and a timer went off, and the ring was going to explode, and they didn't have ring ropes. They had
barbed
electric
wire.
barbed wire, electric barbed wire. So when they hit, sparks went off. And I'm like, oh my goodness, Terry Funk is a badass, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, like one of my favorite hardcore matches I ever got to see, just because of the story, was Edge versus Mick Foley at WrestleMania 22.
I enjoyed that. I
Because
enjoyed
it was
that.
like, it wasn't consistent, like weapon, 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 but to finish off doing a spear through the middle rope onto a flaming table, that has not been done since then that I've seen, and it's just a great way to end it. And just the story they were telling as they were just beating the hell out of each other with weapons, that was it was great. And I can see where Jim Cornette is really, like you said, skeptic about crappy deathmatch wrestling like CZW, where it's just consistently barbed wire, glass, light tubes,
Yeah, but
all that.
here's the thing with Jim Cornette. You rarely, if ever, hear him criticize Terry Funk or even Mick Foley,
Exactly.
because these are people that know what they're doing. You
Exactly.
know, here's one of the things about Terry Funk and Mick Foley. They can lose a match and still be a winner. Like Edge won that WrestleMania match against Mick Foley, speared him through that flaming table and won the match. But Mick Foley, let's face it, he lost the match, but what a way to go out.
Exactly.
You know, he, like you could tell when he's sitting there, he's satisfied with how that went. He didn't care whether he won the match or not. It was about what he could look back on, you know. And
Exactly.
I really I liked his thinking on that. And one of the things I really enjoyed in that match too was Lita got involved and she got a little taste of Mr. Sacco. Unfortunately, there was barbed wire wrapped around it. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I felt that.
Yeah. So
But
when she like went to her lip. It was cut open. I'm like, ouch.
Yep. Yep. But I mean, yeah, he did use Mr. Sacco on Lita.
Yep.
Yep.
And then she got her revenge by hitting him in the junk region and setting the table on fire. And there he went.
Yep. I'm going to say this. I think women's wrestling has come a long way, because back in the day, you didn't see it a lot. I loved Wendy Richter.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Wendy, if you look on YouTube, she fought in cage matches. And loved Velvet McIntyre, Princess Victoria. And but now I gotta say, my favorite female wrestler right now working is Charlotte Flair.
Okay.
And a lot of people have been complaining because Ronda Rousey's not facing Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. And I'm like, look, there's a reason why Bret Hart versus Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13 was as great as it was. Because Bret Hart was such a good technical worker. He knew how to make Steve Austin look like $1 million.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason I bring that up is because if you're going to put Ronda Rousey in a match, and she's an excellent fighter, but in the ring, wrestling's a whole different thing. You want to put her in with somebody like Charlotte Flair, who's going to really make her look good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, do you have any favorite female wrestlers?
For back then, I would say Trish Stratus and Lita, just because of their chemistry together. That was always a great rivalry to watch.
Love Lita.
Yeah, right now for female wrestling, I would say I gotta agree with you. Charlotte's really good. I don't know why but Becky Lynch has gone up and down for me in ways of being a fan versus not being a fan. Bianca Belair's doing really well, as being pushed as she is. I was honestly one of the biggest fans of Alexa Bliss, just because, again, she was just a great heel character.
She's gorgeous.
Exactly. She just knew how to be like that high school bully or just that rude character. Now, granted, when she took the Fiend's gimmick, I mean, it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows, but like back when she was just Little Miss Bliss, and just mad at the world and just did whatever was best for her. She was really great back then at that point.
They screwed up Bray Wyatt bad.
Oh, yeah.
I hated, yeah, I think he should have beaten Randy Orton at WrestleMania. I think they could have done something more with him. Like, I don't understand some of the stupid decisions they make.
No, it's they don't know what to do. And then when they're like, well, that didn't work, see ya, you're gone.
Here's a few problems. Number one, back in the day, they had feuds, and they would last several months. I remember Jimmy Superfly Snuka versus Roddy Piper. That went about a year. That feud did. Another thing that they are missing today, and I wish they would bring it back, because commentary right now in wrestling is boring. I miss heel commentators. I used to love it when Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura would go off each other, and then when Jesse left, Bobby Heenan, and Jerry Lawler was really good at it too. I loved Gorilla Monsoon as commentator because he was so no nonsense,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I miss the heel commentators, and they had the potential to do it again with JBL.
Yeah, I was going to say, he was pretty decent at that.
I think JBL would be a great heel commentator,
because he was like one of the best heels when he was wrestling, because everyone just hated him.
I think it was one of the funniest last matches I ever seen. was the one between Rey Mysterio and JBL. Who cares that Rey Mysterio won? It was the fact that, wow, this was what John Bradshaw Layfield agreed to go out on. And when he gets in the ring there, he tries to make excuses. And he gets mad and says, "That's it, I quit." And everybody starts cheering. The look on his face when they're cheering,
Yeah.
I loved it. I think JBL is terrific.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's proud.
Yep. But everybody started cheering. He said, "I quit." I lost it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So talk about some of the wrestling matches you've done.
Okay.
Have you wrestled Granny Hulkster yet?
No, I have yet to do that. She is sending me down to Arkansas, where I'm going to drag her 90-year-old butt in the ring, and we're going to have ourselves a match. I don't know what kind it'll be, but I mean, if it's for my diamond title, it's no rules, so anything goes.
Okay. Let me see. Do I put my Granny Hulkster for the win?
Well, last night during our radio show, we had a girl named Devin Damo as one of our guests, and I told her like I could take her in my match. So I think what they're gonna do is if me and Devin get down there to Arkansas, it's gonna be me and Devin 1-on-1, and then Granny's gonna interfere, and then it's gonna become like a handicap match, which I'll still win, but you know, gotta let Granny get her moment, I guess.
Oh yeah, I love Granny Hulkster. But what if they put you in the ring with somebody who's not really a wrestler, but somebody who would be freaky, like Chrissy Krueger?
Then it'd be a heck of a lot of fun, I'd say. I'd make it interesting.
Yeah, but she might sink her fangs into you.
That might be my thing. You never know.
um, who would you like if you had a dream match? And I'm talking about any time in history for wrestling.
Okay.
Who would your dream opponent be?
If I could have wrestled anybody from the past, if I were to go in the past, I would say it would have been an honor for me to get in the ring. If I was a heel back then, I would have loved to go against let's see here, what's a good face from back then?
Hornswoggle?
Yes. I always get against the short guys. I don't understand it. But if I were a face, well, since Stone Cold was kind of in the middle, he would be one of my opponents. I would have loved to face Kurt Angle in his prime. That would have been fun. But if I were to go this current age, I would love to go against, like, honestly, if I could, I would have went against Shinsuke Nakamura in his New Japan days. Back when he faced like AJ Styles and they just went out there and killed each other. That would have been awesome. Or I like to face high flyers. So if I could, I'd go against guys like Ricochet or Rey Mysterio, just so I could show my power against them and they could show their athleticism and that kind of thing. But one of my all-time favorite opponents, if I could ever have had a match, would have been Eddie Guerrero.
Oh, absolutely. Loved Eddie.
That would have been one of my favorite matches ever, because I would have loved to do the comedic stuff with him, like try to take his belt and do the bump on the ground and try to get him disqualified, or I would have just done anything with that guy just because he was just a great performer altogether.
If I was a wrestler, I think a guy that I would want to wrestle, because I know that that he would put, whether I was any good or not, I know he'd be good. I'd want to wrestle Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'd want to wrestle the Dragon. But let's be frank here. If I'm going to wrestle anybody, I want to pull an Andy Kaufman and challenge the girls.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Right?
watch, yeah. I would like to wrestle Lita.
I would take her moonsault from the top. I would just lay there and be like, all right, bring it on.
I'd like to wrestle Beth Phoenix. She'd break
Oh,
me in half.
and I would enjoy every second of it. Just be like, all right, what's going next? Okay, this. Whoops. See ya.
And of course, if I ever meet her at a con, I've had her on here 3 times, but if I ever meet her at a con, I want Teal Piper to put me in the sleeper hold.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
I
Yeah,
I love Teal.
yeah, one of my favorite moments I actually ever got to do, and I wasn't even a wrestler at the well, actually I was starting up in my career. But we had Victoria on one of our shows before she did her last tour and stuff like that. And she was one of the coolest just because like how she's so popular and everybody came for her meet and greet and stuff, but she looked at all of us and we were sitting there gambling and having a couple of drinks, and just kind of talking and chilling, and she goes, the last thing I want to do right now is talk about wrestling. I will talk about wrestling all up until the show and until I'm done wrestling, and when I'm done, no wrestling, no talk of it, no anything. And then right before she left, I had her chop me on camera, and it was a good one. She gave me a good chop.
You didn't have her put you over her knee.
No, not.
Oh,
We all had
look at my mind going the gutter.
No, I was like, because we had quite a bit to drink, and I'm like, "Hey, Lita," and she goes, "Yeah," and she turns around. I'm like, "Give me a good chop," and she just winds up and just whack, and I sold it, and she's like, and she felt so bad, she gave me a kiss on the cheek, and I'm like, "All right, I got that on film now for the rest of my life."
Other people too. I love Tori Wilson.
Okay.
Love Tori Wilson. Tori Wilson. One of the charities that I support is a suicide and depression awareness charity called the Doubtfire Face Challenge, which came out after Robin Williams had passed.
Yeah.
And Scotty McCoy, who does the show Slasher Scotty, he told me to throw it out to people on Cameo. So, and he was suggesting wrestlers. It involves you taking a pie in the face and you nominate 3 people. And Tori Wilson did it. And she was
Okay.
yeah, she did it. And I got Teal Piper to do it too. I got her to do it on my birthday.
Oh, that's awesome. That is.
I send a lot of Cameo requests to Teal because and she ended her last one saying, "I'm not your fucking clown, Greg. I'm not your fucking clown." Because
Well, I'm paying.
I asked the weirdest shit, and I think she likes every bit of it,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, she got her dad's sense of humor, but no, I threw it out there, and Tori did it, and I love Tori Wilson, but yeah, if I was a wrestler and I wasn't a real big guy, I'd be one of these guys. Like I had James Ellsworth on here.
Okay.
He did the Doubtfire challenge, but one of the things I admired about James is he was willing to go in there and get his ass whipped by Becky Lynch, and he just had just this good attitude about it, because not every wrestler can go in there and do that.
No.
Nope, especially a really big wrestlers.
Yeah.
But I know Jim Cornette hates intergender matches, and people criticize Jim Cornette for doing it, but Jim Cornette said, "Yeah, but I'm a manager." He knew how to do the thing with Baby Doll, because he was going to lose because he was the manager. you know
Exactly.
but a lot of it depends on who they're in there against.
Hmm.
I think Beth Phoenix would go over Santino Marella.
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely, no questions asked.
Yep. So it depends on what it is, but intergender matches don't bother me. But
No.
as I don't like seeing women get hit by men though. The matches between China and Eddie Guerrero kind of made me cringe. And of course, they're working everything out. You know that Eddie's not really hurting China, but it's kind of awkward.
Yeah.
But you get somebody in there that especially a heel like that their crybaby match between Luna Vachon and whoever it was. I don't think it was Stevie Richards, but somebody in that ilk.
Okay.
A whiny heel. But you knew Luna was going to win. She was going to take her licks, but she was going to come out on top. And so to make that work, you gotta plan it carefully.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you met Victoria. Who else did you meet?
So far, Victoria is the only very popular wrestler I met. I met James Ellsworth as well. I forgot to mention that.
Mm-hmm.
I met him at a Puffamania show back in Fargo here a while back, and he was pretty cool. But one of my favorite people I ever got to meet was Paul Heyman, and
Okay.
he was in character the entire time, and I loved the hell out of it.
Was he a complete wussum person too?
No, he was a jerk because we were coming back from a class trip to New York.
Uh-huh.
And I think he was heading out to Detroit for Monday Night Raw. And we're standing there in LaGuardia Airport. We're ready to board our plane. And my teacher hits me on the shoulder and he goes, "You look over there and you sure shit tell me that's not Paul Heyman." And I looked over there and I'm like, holy shit. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go over there. And I walked over there and I started talking to him. And he was kind of just, being rude, whatever. He was just being his character. And I'm like, "So how's Brock Lesnar doing?" He looked at me and goes, "Do I look like the guy that talks to Brock Lesnar?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, you're his advocate, aren't you? Don't you don't you cuddle up to him at night before you go to bed or whatever?" And I started sassing him and and he just kind of gave me a skunk eye or whatever. And I was just kind of taunting him a little bit. And then I just said the heck with it. And I pulled out my camera because I wanted to take a picture with him. So I'm like, "Say WrestleMania." And he said no. And he looked it sideways and just gave me the biggest skunk eye I've ever seen in my life. And I just walked away.
You know what? I didn't see this, but I know somebody back in the day who was at a wrestling event, and he I don't know where it was, but he came across Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked Kurt Hennig if he could take a picture with him, and he said Kurt Hennig said he's too perfect for pictures.
I could see that. I could see that.
I went to a couple wrestling events. I saw Owen Hart at one of the events, taking on Bastion Booger. But backstage, when the wrestlers came out, one of the funniest things, Yokozuna came out with the Head Shrinkers and Mr. Fuji,
Okay.
and they got into this Cadillac. Fuji got in the back with one of the Head Shrinkers, and Yokozuna got in the passenger seat. The car was just going down. One of the Head Shrinkers was driving, and I'm like, "Gee, Fuji taught them well."
Yeah, sure did.
But I remember Bret Hart came out, and I just reached out and I tapped him on the shoulder. It was like tapping solid rock.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yep. And I went to one about 10 years ago, an event, and I tapped CM Punk, I tapped Kofi Kingston and Batista, but the one that made the most impression on me was Kelly Kelly, because Kelly Kelly was going on long and she was doing this with everybody. She took her hand and went like this down my arm and down my hand, and I got goosebumps.
Yeah, yeah, I would too.
So I was like, okay. And she was doing that with everybody. I guess it was her thing, but I'm gonna tell you, I got goosebumps.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, and then another guy I got to meet was Hernandez out of TNA. He was actually a pretty cool guy to talk to as well and learn stuff from.
I don't know who that is because I don't follow a lot of the more
He was
moderate, but
he was a tag team called the Latin American Exchange, or LAX, and he was a tag team member with Homicide, and they were one of the big TNA tag teams back in the day.
TNA like tits and ass.
Yep, yeah, total nonstop.
They poorly named that company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, those are really the main big people I ever got to meet and stuff like that. And I hope to meet more later on down the road. I guess we'll just I met Greg Gagne as well at one of our shows. We booked him. Oh, I can't believe I forgot this. So I met Greg Gagne, and I got him, and he punched me 3 times and chopped me once in the locker room to teach people what was going on and how to hit. And then I met Eric Redbeard, also formerly known as Eric Rowan, from WWE back at our last BZW show, because he came and worked for us. So those are 2 other people I forgot to mention. So
are you up for ever having an intergender match?
oh, absolutely. I'd be
would-
more than willing, depending on the right person.
Who would you want to wrestle?
If I could have, I would have wrestled Victoria for sure. There was a girl that we had here in our main company a while back. Her name was Desi Dorada, and she lives out in Las Vegas. And let me say, I have bad gas problems, but she always tried to one-up me. So that's probably what all we would try to do, is just knock each other out with gas in the ring the entire time. So that would have been a great opponent for me. But another one I'd say probably would be Beth Phoenix if I could have. Or one girl I always wanted to wrestle was Trish Stratus.
Oh, yeah.
For many reasons. But yeah. Or Lita, of course, because of how tough.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I want to wrestle Lita. Speaking of back gas problems, one of the biggest ribbers in wrestling was Owen Hart. And Bret Hart was telling a story that Owen Hart, he was known as a really funny ribber, but he took sardines and rubbed them under his armpit.
Oof.
And when he went out to the ring, he was wrestling Bret Hart. He put Bret Hart in chokehold, and Bret Hart said he nearly died. But another story I heard, and I think Bret Hart told the story. I don't know where I heard it. I heard it once. Nope, Bret Hart didn't tell the story. Bam Bam Bigelow told this story.
All right.
It was at the end of that King of the Ring that Bret Hart won.
Okay.
Bret Hart had a move that where he won the match, he was on Bam Bam's shoulders, and he flipped down and did a roll up and pinned him. That Bigelow said Bret Hart rolled down, he cut Land right in his face. And Bam Bigelow said it nearly knocked the shit out of him.
Jeez.
Bam Bam said it nearly killed him.
My God. Oy, just think about that. Just right there.
Bam Bam was laughing when he told it, though. So there you go.
Oh, yeah. Just like, yeah, some guy shit his pants right in my face. It's cool.
Here's one I want to see. I've heard this story before. I would love to see it. There was apparently a tag team match. I think it was in Japan. And two of the participants were Andre the Giant and Bad News Brown. And I know Bad News Brown told the story, but they were both in the ring, and Andre did this thing where he grabbed the ropes and he would plant his butt down on his opponent, on his opponent's chest. And apparently he wasn't feeling well, and Andre shit, and it came out all over Bad News Brown's chest.
Oh God. Oh. Yeah.
It was bad news for
Bad News Brown.
Oh, but here, Bad News tell it. I mean, he wasn't pissed at Andre. He said, "Well, the guy wasn't feeling well. It happens, But he said he had to get out of the ring, go and shower.
Yeah, I would do the exact same thing. I mean, I heard about the Jake Roberts birthmark event, but I never heard of that one.
Oh, what was the Jake Roberts birthmark event?
Oh, so Jake Roberts was wrestling Andre the Giant, and Andre did that exact same thing. Like he climbed up to the top, to the middle rope, and then did the ass drop on him. Well, he slipped, and his foot slipped, and he actually landed full on his chest. And he thought like his sternum was broke or whatever. So he rolls over and he's, making sure he can breathe and stuff. And all of a sudden, Andre the Giant sits on him and just starts farting like nonstop for like, and he's laughing while he's doing it. And the ref's like, Andre, why are you laughing? And he goes, I'm farting. And he just farts on Jake the Snake for 40 seconds. And when he gets up, Jake describes it as having like a wine stain on his shoulder. He could just feel his shoulder vibrate the entire time.
Well, that's probably about close as bad as what Hacksaw Jim Duggan had with Andre.
Yeah.
Because Duggan said that Andre took that strap on his shoulder and wrapped it around his neck, choke him out. Duggan said that Andre got that strap into his mouth, and Duggan said he nearly threw up because Andre had sweat all through that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Duggan said the taste was not good.
No, I definitely would not enjoy that strap in my mouth after it's been around Andre the Giant's body for God knows how long in a match. I pretty good after a match, but man of giant size, oh Lord, help us all.
And I don't know whether it was with Mick Foley, but I don't know. I think it was Mick Foley that was telling the story where he did a match with Owen Hart. He said Owen Hart would, when they get down the match, Owen Hart would fart. Mick Foley's like, you gotta try to be in character, but this guy shitting himself in the ring,
Yeah, sometimes you can't help it but laugh, but that's the problem. You got to stay in character the entire time, or try to. So,
yeah, but I'd love to see the one where Andre shit on Bad News Brown.
That would be something else. You see an explosion, you're like, oh, well, that just happened.
Yeah. No, it's. I hear some of these stories, and it's just too fun, and I love the rib stories too.
Yeah.
I heard Mr. Fuji was quite a ribber, but I think one of the best rib stories I heard, speaking of shitting, Kurt Hennig. They were in a plane, and Kurt Hennig's sitting with Yokozuna.
Okay.
And Kurt Hennig, being the kindly soul that he is, offers Yokozuna a chocolate bar. What he doesn't tell Yokozuna is it's laced with laxative.
Oh no.
Yokozuna downs that chocolate bar. You know how big Yokozuna was.
Earth.
Yokozuna had to go to the washroom, but he couldn't fit in the washroom on the plane. So the stewardess had to get newspapers out. Yokozuna just shit on the newspaper. Her heading sitting and laughing.
Oh my God.
Do you imagine opening it up the plane and tossing the newspaper out?
Nope. I can't imagine. Especially after Yokozuna got through with it. Definitely not.
You better hope
Yikes.
you're not the one walking underneath when that stuff lands.
All of a sudden, just what the hell is that? Oh my God.
Gee, his shit would probably cover a state.
It's just all. Well, this just happened. Oh no.
Oh man, listen to us talking about shit stories in wrestling.
Just come together. Like Randy Orton shit in that one woman's bag that what was her name? Amy Webster or something like that. She was a valet for JBL and he took a shit in her bag.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You hear about the story where somebody took a shit on in Jerry Lawler's crown?
No, I didn't.
I think rumors was that it was X-Pac.
Of course.
Shit in Jerry Lawler's crown.
Oh
so Lawler had to go to the ring without it.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Wow.
And somebody shit in Sable's bag.
Yep.
Yep. I don't think they do it now based on who she's married to.
Yeah, definitely not. Would not take the opportunity to or to test that theory. No, thank you. I'm okay with having my insides on the inside, please. That's perfectly fine with me.
So tell me, have you ever had any accidents in the ring?
No, I actually have not. Surprisingly, I have. I believe maybe I passed gas in the ring, but I have never shit myself. I have never done anything of that sort, but I have injured myself quite a bit. But other than that, nothing like
injured yourself passing gas.
I wish I could say that, but no. I've injured my knee, my neck, my head, my hand. I've injured a lot of areas of my body.
Did you do like Andre? Do you fart on your opponent?
That was actually going to be one of my finishing moves in the EWI. I just give them a massive stink face, and they're just out. So that was actually one of my finishers for a while.
I don't understand. Like again, I could never allow that. I never understood the stink face move. And I watched Rikishi do that on Stephanie McMahon, I think it was. Her head just nearly disappeared up his ass.
Yeah, and he did the same to Lita too.
Oh, poor Lita.
Yeah, all of a
poor
sudden
Lita.
it's just no, thank you.
And it's like I don't know how much extra they would have been paid for that, but if Rikishi just didn't happen to be feeling well that day, you might have had an Andre the Giant accident.
Yeah. All of a sudden you pull out and you just got all over yourself and you're like, well, I'm gonna leave now.
Yeah. So nope. That you got any charities that you're involved with that you want to plug and promote on here?
I have actually not gotten involved with many of that stuff. I mean, I've done some stuff with the Invaders, but I just can't remember off the top of my head right now. But we've done toy drives, we've done stuff with BZW. I just can't remember exactly all that we've done. But when I've wrestled for dang it, my throat. When I've wrestled for a company called the American Wrestling Federation, we always do our shows, like a certain amount of our profits go into certain charities or like school groups or something like that, or prayer groups and stuff like that for churches and stuff like that. So,
Mhm. Well, what's your finishing move for wrestling?
well, I have quite my throat's just really dry. I've got like two big moves. I do either a big boot or I will do a double-handed sit-out choke slam. Those are two of my big ones.
Uh-huh.
Or I've kind of developed one where I pick them up like I'm going to give them an F5, and I'll pull them like I am going to give them the F5, but then I will spin with them and I'll go flat, and then it'll basically, I'm just giving them kind of like a F5 / rock bottom type situation. And then that's kind of that's my third one that I'm kind of developing now. So
Yours is not like the ass crack slam?
no, we were gonna do something like that. Like I said, I was probably gonna do pink face, but nobody in our company would happily take that.
Why
So
not?
well, because apparently my ass is too pungent for them. I don't know.
You see, all you need to do is find one of them you can blackmail.
There is actually a couple I could have. I actually could have, and I know I would have done that willingly just to get back at them and that kind of stuff. So
what about Scott the Icon?
Oh, I would totally do that. Yeah. He wants to be my manager, but I turn around and I would definitely beat him down and just crop dust the hell out of him in the corner.
Well, we need to get. I want to hear you cut a promo. So we're in the big match. We're gonna test out what you can do, and your match is the toughest match of your career. Your opponents, it's gonna be a handicap match. It's you in a handicap elimination match against Scott the Icon, Granny Hulkster, Chrissy Krueger.
Okay.
3-on-1. Cut the
3-on
promo. Yes, cut the promo.
All right. So I hear that this company all of a sudden thinks that they're going to give me a challenge, a 3-on-1 handicap match against a 5'2", 250-pound blob called the Icon, a 98-year-old who's going to have to miss her curfew to fight me, Granny Hulkster. I'm surprised she can even climb in the ring without breaking a hip. And then I got to face another freak on their side. Like, what are they trying? It's going to be a little bit of a challenge. I can understand this. It's going to be 3-on-1, but it's going to be facing the Blob, an old lady, and somebody who I've never heard of in my entire life. Like, they think this is going to be a challenge. It might be. But I always climb on top. I'll always do what I need to do. I'll just roll the Blob out. I'll break the old lady's hip. And then I just got 1-on-1 with some person, a freak I've never heard of.
She's a vampire.
Welcome.
She's a vampire.
Well, exactly. Who likes to wrestle a vampire? She wants to sink her teeth into me. I'm nothing but hard steel. I'll break her teeth. I'll break her nose. Then I'll break her face. And then I'll break her legs. I'll watch her get pinned. But with her, it'll be 3 hits. Me hitting her hitting the floor, and then her hitting on the paramedic on the way out the building.
So you're going to gurney all 3 of them out?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Blob will just get gently put on the gurney because that's all he could do, and he'll get ripped out. I'll take Granny's cane to her, and I'll just hit her a couple of times. She'll fall down and can't get up, and he out of the ring. And then I'll just put some salt on the vampire and give it and flash my lights at her, and then she'll lay down. I'll pin her and send her on her way too.
I'm sure Scott the Icon, Granny Hulkster, and Chrissy Krueger will love this. I'm looking forward to them hearing that. Chrissy Krueger's not even a wrestler, but I mean, she got the fangs, and like I said, Scott the Icon's been sending all kinds of interesting folks my way, so I'm like, yeah, there you go. But I'm going to keep watch what you're doing because maybe next year around this time I would love to have you back. Maybe.
Oh, that,
Oh yeah, this has been a lot of fun having you on here. I didn't know a whole lot about you, but you were there the night that I was on Attitude Era Live, and I had a lot of fun on there. So he asked if I was willing to interview you guys. I said, sure.
oh yeah.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it, especially talking wrestling with shit.
Yeah, that definitely was I don't know how we got to that point, but we sure did. Somehow, some way, it all just came to shit.
Well, you know what? It kind of puts me in mind of poor Stephanie McMahon when she and Trish Stratus had a fight, and it was backstage, and I don't know why there was hay there, but Trish Stratus took Stephanie McMahon and rubbed her face in cow shit.
Oh yes, I remember that.
Did you see that? And
yes, I remember that.
Now I gotta say, my admiration for Stephanie McMahon for being willing to do that went up. I wouldn't do it myself, but I admire the fact that she was willing to take it for the team.
Yeah.
But I don't know what enticed her to do it, but and she's a McMahon, so there you go.
Yeah, like that's the one thing that helps get your respect in the business if you're willing to kind of do a lot of things other people aren't. Like for instance, in one of my favorite matches I've ever wrestled, it was called the Royal Purge, and it was in Killdeer, North Dakota.
Uh-huh.
And it was a multi-man match. And it was basically just anything goes, beat the hell out of each other, get a pin or submission, and that person's eliminated. Well, like in the same match, I got 2 beer cans busted over my head. I took multiple chair shots, steel step shots. I got hit with so many things, including like the kitchen sink. But one of my favorite things I got to do was a guy named Remington Roar.
Mm-hmm.
He took a cheese grater to my forehead and just dug into my forehead and busted me open really good. And then I crawled over to the side of the ring, and along the floor is just a shit ton of thumbtacks. And I stand up, and all of a sudden I just see him pick me up, and down into the thumbtacks I went. And the crowd just absolutely went nuts. They went absolutely berserk. And then I got pinned, and I got like the best color out of everybody. And then unfortunately, when I was climbing out of the thumbtacks and they were slowly coming out of my body as I was kind of pulling them off, I look up, and the owner of the company looks at me with a cake sheet and just cracks me over the skull. And I'm like, and I fall backwards again. And I just land right back into the tacks.
So, talk about bleeding.
Okay.
What's the secret to bleeding? Because I know you must have done that.
Well, I bled both in hard way, and I had to blade a little bit. So basically what it is you take a small razor, just like from a razor you'd use to shave your face, and you wrap it up in tape, and you could either put it like in your wrist tape, or you could put it in the hem of your tights or whatever, and you keep it hidden. And then when you get the opportunity, you pull out the blade, and then you slice yourself across the forehead or wherever, and then you'll bleed. But then either you gotta either re-hide the blade, or you gotta get it somewhere safe so nobody else gets their hands on it. And after I got hit with the cheese grater and it grinded into my head, I was bleeding quite a bit, but not as much as I wanted. So when I was laying flat on the ground, kind of in the corner away from the crowd, I took my blade and I cut myself, and I looked and I felt around, and I had a little bit of blood coming out. I'm like, that's not good enough. So I took it and I pushed a little harder, and I went a little longer, and all of a sudden just gushing out of me. And I'm like, perfect. I got what I needed. And the crowd's like, oh my God, he's bleeding. Oh my God, this and that. And then after I got put into the thumbtacks, the crowd just went berserk.
Oh,
And then I go to the back, I wash off all the blood, I make sure it's not too deep where I don't need stitches, and then went on my merry way.
does it hurt?
Well, here's the thing. I was smart enough to take some blood pressure medication, take like some Advil and some painkiller before the match because it didn't hurt. Like I have a very high pain tolerance. So like if I cut myself, I don't feel it as much or as it doesn't hurt as much. But when I nick myself in the forehead, you can kind of feel it. It's like when you get a needle stuck into your arm, it kind of felt like that. And I just grinded across and it was short. And then when I pushed a little harder and got it, I could feel the sting. But other than that, it wasn't too bad. And then when I saw all the blood, I'm like, perfect. And I hit it away and then I continued on with the match.
I saw a really good match between Eddie Guerrero and John Bradshaw Lacefield, which turned into a bloodbath. But there was one point where Bradshaw hit Guerrero with a chair right over the head. And
Yep.
of course, yeah, you know the match I'm talking about. And he was just caked in red. And it's like he cut too deep, I think.
Yeah, well, he got initially busted open from the chair because the side of it his head, but then when he bladed to get more, he actually cut one of his arteries, and and so he went on with the match, but when he got to the back, he actually had to have a blood transfusion done to save his life.
Wow. JBL got busted open in that too, but not like that.
No, definitely not.
Yep. No, that's something they say when you do it. You go along the hairline or just above the brow.
Yeah, that's one of the more safer areas because, like, if somebody were to punch you right here a lot and just grind across, you'll get busted open here. But I kind of went more towards the center of my forehead. Mm-hmm. So when I saw the pictures of it at the end, like I just had this huge cut just right here on the center of my forehead. So I didn't know exactly where to put it. So I just went and I just pushed a little harder so I didn't nick an artery and I got what I needed.
You going to Abdullah the Butcher yourself?
I hope not, because I aim to look like that later on in the future. Or even New Jack, like good Lord. But may he rest in peace. Yeah. But yeah, I don't intend on doing that much. I will do a match where that needs to happen every once in a while because like nowadays with indie wrestling, you don't bleed much, you don't blade much unless it's a very specific match or unless you're doing deathmatch wrestling, then that's okay. But like with other matches, a lot of people don't see blood as necessary unless it's like really the end to a big rivalry going on. To where like you beat the living hell out of each other to the point where you're bleeding and you got nothing left, and then the finish is the finish.
There you go. Well, you know what? This has been a lot of fun because I still got another building I got to clean tonight, but I was happy to come here and do this. This has been a lot of fun talking to you about this, but do you have any events or anything coming up that you want to plug and promote on here?
As a matter of fact, yes, because I know you may know this guy, but on March 13th for Below Zero Wrestling, I have an open challenge to anybody who wants to come out and try to fight me.
Oh, Granny's going to take that.
Yeah,
she's going to win.
Yes, absolutely. If she comes to Wapaton, North Dakota to kick my ass, I'm more than welcome to see that. But I've got an open challenge set for that day. And then on March 18th, 5 days later, I go to Valley City for PWA Slugfest, where I go against a fellow Canadian, Danny Duggan, hotshot Danny Duggan, in a no-holds-barred match. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to that. I may bleed. We're not sure yet. We'll see.
There you go. Do you get to do the WrestleCons?
No, I have actually not been invited to one of those yet. I don't know if it's. I haven't really been in talks with those, but if I ever got the opportunity, I sure would, 100%.
Well, just make sure you avoid Virgil's table.
Okay, I'll make sure.
If you check on the internet, go on YouTube, type in Lonely Virgil.
Lonely Virgil.
Yeah, and you'll know why they call him Lonely Virgil.
Okay.
Because nobody's at his table, and when people do come to his table, say some weird stuff happens. That involves your name on one of his pictures after he asks you which one you like, and then him trying to sell it to you after he puts.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. There's been some Lonely Virgil stories, but I remember there was a few years ago. There was this must have been 10 years ago now. I think the biggest lineup there. I wasn't at this, but I read about it. The biggest lineup was Roddy Piper. Had a huge lineup. The one with no lineup was Virgil.
Of course.
But I put a video up the other day. Scott Hall ran into Virgil at his table.
Yeah.
He was ribbing him, and he was going along and videoing himself, and he was like looking at all the pictures that Virgil had on his table. And it was all Virgil with Andre the Giant, Virgil with Ted DiBiase. It was no just Virgil.
Okay.
So Virgil was just going on this association with other wrestlers. But then Scott Hall says, well, there is the action figure. He holds the Virgil action figure up. He says, this should be really on its back where it's most recognizable.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Holy cow. I laughed so hard because Scott Hall was basically making fun of him.
Jeez. Boy, I don't know how I'd react to that one. I'd laugh it out if I heard that. If I was Virgil, I have no idea how I'd react.
Well, I won't get into it. You got to hear some of the Virgil stories, because some of the stuff that comes out of his mouth are outrageous. Like apparently he said that he was in 17 WrestleManias, and I'm like, does he have a problem counting?
Probably.
He was not in 17 WrestleManias, I can tell you that. He only wrestled in 2 of them, and the other ones he was just there with Ted DiBiase.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in 17 of them.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to look up those stories as soon as we get done here tonight.
Yeah, look them up. It's a good laugh for you.
Heck yeah. Lonely Virgil. I will remember that.
Lonely Virgil. Yeah, you'll find it. It's a good laugh. But anyway, it was wonderful having you come on here tonight, and
it was awesome being.
Yeah, good luck with your 3-on-1 match against the Icon and Granny Hulkster and the vampire model Chrissy Kruger.
It's set.
It's set. But before I let you go, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
Absolutely.
Just state your name and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise. All right. Do you want me to go as like Mathias or as just normal me?
Go as Mathias.
Okay. Hello, you losers, lumpies, and germs. This is Mathias here, the #1 North Dakota heel from your woman's dreams and your worst nightmares. And you're listening to Python. Okay, I got to redo that. What was that? Sorry. Gilbert on Python's
Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Greg Gilbert, Python's Paradise.
Come on, Granny Hulkster got it right away. What's wrong with you?
Because she's old. She's got amnesia. It's all right. She has the shortest term memory compared to me. All right. All right, you losers, lumpies, and germs. This is Mattheis, the #1 North Dakota heel, the man from your woman's dreams and your worst nightmares. And you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
We need to get you to cut a promo on somebody. Let me see. I gotta get you to do one promo. Let me think. Okay. You're gonna be facing Trish Stratus.
Okay.
And it's gonna be a submission match.
Okay.
You're facing Trish Stratus in a submission match.
Okay.
Cut the promo.
Trish Stratus submission match. All right. I'm going to pretend it's at WrestleMania. I'm going to cut this. All right.
Yep.
So, a dream match for a young lady finally comes true. Trish Stratus finally gets what she wants. A submission match with the man of her dreams, Mattheis. Sorry to say, sweetheart, you may have one of the most beautiful bodies in the business, but to me, you're just a target. I'm going to pop your implants. I'm going to rebust your nose, and I'm going to make you tap out with the most horrendous, disgusting stink face anybody has ever seen. And then I may break your arm, put you in a crossface. I may do some other stuff to you that only lives in my fantasies. But when I get through with you, you'll be on your back, tapping out like you do behind the camera, as always. Just ask Vince McMahon if you know what I'm saying.
We love you, Trish Stratus, if you hear this.
we do love you. You're my favorite. Please don't come to North Dakota and kill me. I mean, if you do, I'll enjoy it, but please don't kill me. Not just yet. I want to face you first.
Don't worry, Trish. If you're listening to this, Granny Hulkster's going to beat you to it.
Oh, come on. At least let me die happy. I mean, it's like Trish Stratus had the nice implants, but she had like the inflated balloons. Granny Hulkster's looked like the balloons 3 days after the birthday party, and they're just sinking to the floor. It's not. She might step on them. She might step on things when she gets to the ring. And I don't want to see that. I really don't want to see
that. So you're saying that you're going to have a Granny Hulkster in a casket match?
Yeah, let's do a casket match. We'll do a 3-way casket match or fatal 3-on-1 handicap casket match. It's either I'm going to put a blob in a casket, an old lady to her final resting place, or a vampire, and I'll make sure I put dirt in it so she stays in it.
I can't wait for them to hear this.
This is going to be fun. I'm excited.
You're going to be in so much trouble. You go on the air next.
I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see the repercussions. Let's go.
You know what? I love those guys. I'm really happy that Scott the Icon got hold of me, and I loved having these interesting people on, and you've been a lot of fun to talk to. I had no idea we were going to be talking this long either. I don't know how long we've gone, but you know what? This has been so much fun. This has been
I think it's been about a couple hours, and it's been worth it.
It's been absolutely, and I'll be glad to have you on next year. I'll put you on my 2023 list and have you back and see what kind of shape you're in after that 3-way fight.
Absolutely. Let's go. I'll tell you all about it. Every little graphic detail.
All right. Well, you have yourself a wonderful evening. Stay safe and tell the gang out there that you were not talking about them. You weren't talking about them at all.
No, definitely not. No word is spoken. Just talking about it. That's it. Nothing else.
Talking about shit.
That's for 2 hours. We talked about feces and wrestling and how it came together. That's it. No shit talking whatsoever.
That's it. Only shit talking was in the ring.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. You take care, man. God bless you, and thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, man. You have a good one.
Yep. Take care.
See ya.
Yeah, bye-bye.